Get the show started, shall we? We begin from the United States, where the U.S. President Joe Biden has condemned a wave of Russian missile attacks that killed at least 38 people in Ukraine as a horrific reminder of Russia's brutality as he vows to strengthen Kyiv's defenses. At least 190 people were injured across the country, including some of the children at the hospital in the capital, Kyiv, on Monday. Although Russia has denied it fired at the Kyiv hospital, but the United Nations says that it was highly likely that Moscow was behind that blast. And this is coming as President Joe Biden prepares to host a NATO summit in Washington today. The U.S. president says further boosts to Ukraine's air defenses will be announced at that meeting. But leaders from the 32 NATO member states, their partner countries and the EU are gathering to mark the 75th anniversary of the bloc. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is also expected to attend the summit. A day of mourning has been declared in Kyiv by Mayor Vitaly Klitschko, and that's after the daylight Russian missile barrage hits Ukraine's largest children's hospital, as we told you earlier, killing dozens across the country. All flags have been flown at half-mast on municipal buildings throughout the city, and all entertainment events will be cancelled. The mayor says the strike was among the heaviest attacks on the capital since Russia's February 2022 invasion. 22 people were killed in the capital, including 2 staff members of the hospital, where 3 children were hurt. Mayor Vitaly Klitschko also says that Russia cannot help but know where its missiles are flying and must fully answer for all its crimes against people, against children, and against humanity. Meanwhile, the U.S. President Joe Biden has promised new measures to boost Ukraine's air defenses. While the Kremlin has refuted claims that Russia had hit a children's hospital in Kyiv, it says that Ukrainian anti-missile fire actually hits that building. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov and not, however, approve and provide any evidence to support the assertion. But he goes on to insist that Russia does not conduct strikes on civilian targets. It's been a back and forth of words from both Russia and Ukrainian authorities. In support of their claims, the Ukrainian Security Service has said that fragments of rear parts of missile with serial number and a part of the guidance system is from Russia's Kh-101 caliber missile, which was used in that attack. Meanwhile, Mr. Peskov, at his daily briefing, is quoted as saying, "I urge you to be guided by the statements of the Russian Ministry of Defense, which absolutely excludes that there were attacks on civilian targets and which states that we are talking about falling anti-missile system." In the meantime, rescuers are still combing through the wreckage for survivors at the Ukraine's largest children's hospital, which was attacked following the missile strikes across the country, which killed at least 41 people and wounded dozens others. The Ukrainian health minister says that 5 units of the children's hospital, which is the largest and best equipped in the country, were damaged, and children were evacuated to another facility. But Ukrainian authorities have said the Russian missile struck the hospital around 10 a.m., destroying a large part of the 2-story center housing the toxicology ward, which was flattened. Also, windows were blown out in the main 11th floor building nearby. And volunteers have dug through the rubble of the residential building in the Citrus neighborhood in the central district in Kyiv, following the Russian missile which hit the site on Monday. Victims of Monday's strike were carried out on stretchers or in body bags. Emergency services said that 3 people were killed, including 2 children at the site of the strike in the area, while 18 others were injured. Meanwhile, Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko had earlier published a video on his Telegram channel showing that in front of a heavily damaged residential building in the affected neighborhood, saying that he and others at the site heard voices from beneath the rubble and that 17 apartments had been damaged in that strike. Russia rained missiles down on Kyiv and other cities in Ukraine. That event happened on Monday, which killed 36 civilians. A day of mourning has been declared by Ukraine authorities for what it describes as one of the worst air attacks of the war. which demonstrates Ukraine's urgent need for an upgrade of its air defenses from its Western allies. Well, VOA's Anna Cherinkova also joins us now on the program. Hello, Anna. It's good to see you again. Thank you for joining us on The World Today.
Good evening.
What is the extent of the Russian attacks on Ukraine on Monday? It's been a very sad event. What are your thoughts on that?
It was a really difficult day, starting from the morning, and there were a couple of attacks across the city, across the country. But Kyiv definitely was under the most heavy attack, and at least 7 explosions were heard in the city, and. Personally, I've seen one of the hits not so far from my apartment building, and I've seen it from my windows. It was also a missile strike, and which hit residential building in the neighborhood nearby, and also, of course, as everyone is discussing, the children's hospital, the leading Ukrainian children's hospital, which is located in Kyiv, where children with heavy disease are treated, such as cancer, such as those people who need to be on the dialysis, and those people who need difficult surgeries, either face surgeries or organ surgeries, so different types. Of course, cancer treatment is undergoing there as well, and according to the officials, more than 600 children were at the moment of the attack were in the hospital, as well as more than 600 medical personnel. So, well, 1,200, even more people. Also, in addition, we should also count parents, we should count relatives. So a lot of civilians were inside. According to, again, to the local officials, the casualties could have been higher in the hospital, but personnel took steps to go to the shelter with everyone when air raid alarms were on. The attack happened at around 10:30 a.m. local time, and also in Kyiv, another hospitals were hit, not just this one, also maternity hospital and 2 maternity hospitals, which are located in the same building. They also were hit, and also casualties were reported. Also, there were hits in Kryvyi Rih and Dnipro, which is eastern part of the country. So it was a tough day for Ukraine yesterday.
Oh, I can imagine. But there's a lot of focus on the Children's Cancer Hospital that was hit during the attacks. Well, Russia has denied that it was a target, as it says that it doesn't target civilian buildings. It has blamed the strike on the hospital on anti-missile fire. Now, this, of course, will be unacceptable to Ukrainians, but it is consistent, or is it even consistent with Russia's approach to civilian infrastructure getting caught in a crossfire?
Well, I was at the scene on Monday, and I've seen the place of the hit. It was not a debris fall. I've seen a lot of places with debris fall, with direct hits already. Well, in this more than 2 years of full-scale invasion, but me and my colleagues, of course, we are not experts, but experts who were working on the scene found the engine of the Kh-101 type of missile. And also experts say that it was a direct hit, and even from the spot you can see on the scene, you can see that it was an exact place with a huge hole instead of the building, instead of the toxicology department, which was hit directly. And then the blast wave was that strong and that powerful that buildings around were almost completely destroyed from the inside. So no casualties, but a lot of people injured. and a lot of equipment, high-tech equipment, the top quality and top importance equipment was destroyed due to this shelling, due to this heat. Also, there are a lot of footage where it's quite easy to see that there were a couple of missiles, at least two, targeting the hospital. One was definitely hit the place, and it's quite clear that it was not damaged. It was not on fire. So it was just a missile targeting particular spot.
But Anna, there's been a lot of condemnation for attacks on Ukraine, the U.S. President Joe Biden being the latest to do so. These remarks do not move Russian President Vladimir Putin, does it? But I mean, what would Ukraine have as a better response to Russia?
For Ukraine, as we also follow the NATO summit, which started today, and President Zelensky is expected on Wednesday to attend and to have meetings. And of course, in Ukraine, there are a lot of hopes and a lot of expectation that the Monday attack would encourage allies of Ukraine and would encourage NATO leaders to conclude some more powerful decisions to at least there is actually quite a big hope here inside the country that because of this Monday attack, Ukrainian allies and NATO leaders will actually remove the restriction of using their weapons on the territory.
We recall the Ukrainian president has already seized this opportunity
to use the weapons provided by the allies to.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Ukrainians hope that allies will allow Ukrainian forces to use weapons provided by them to target military targets, to hit military targets anywhere on the territory of Russia, at least. So this is quite a hope as a result, again, and as a response to this attack on the children's hospital. Also, of course, there is not much hope that any particular steps towards NATO negotiations would be taken, but at least, to get a strong message about Ukrainian future in NATO and potentially a stronger partnership, deeper partnership of Ukraine with NATO and NATO member countries. So this would be definitely probably the only response Ukraine would expect, because Ukraine is not planning to attack Russian children or Russian civilians. So the only possible response, and this is what also Ukrainian officials say, would be to allow Ukraine to actually use international weapon, Western weapon on the territory of Russia, targeting military targets.
Yes, I had asked earlier about the Ukrainian president seizing the opportunity to request high-range request from its allies, but why are they not responding to President Zelensky's request? Is there a reason?
Well, I guess, of course, we don't know all the details of what's happening behind the scenes and what's happening not in a public, in a public eye. I guess, well, because each country has its own reasons. Each country has its own path and pace of providing, of deciding, of concluding the decisions, of taking the decisions, and allowing that or these steps. And well, it looks like it's. I mean, allies have already done extremely a lot, and at the beginning of full-scale invasion, Ukraine could have even, expect or believe that whatever Ukraine has now in terms of weapons would be available. But again, it takes time. Such decisions in a democracy, in the countries with democracy, the democracies are taking, serious decisions, considering a lot of angles, and this is how democracy works. So everyone understands that it's long term, and unfortunately for Ukraine, time-consuming decisions. But But it would not be correct to say that President Zelensky or Ukrainian nation is not heard, because the support that has already been provided proves that well, the world is on the Ukrainian side to defend the democracy, to defend the rules of law, international law. But again, it takes time.
But Anna, before I let you go, I know that NATO allies are meeting in Washington. We've seen flags flying at half-mast in Ukraine, and also search has continued to find bodies under the rubble, which is really sad at the moment. But what do Ukrainians wish most from President Zelensky and Ukraine's allies?
Yeah, it's a day of mourning in Ukraine, and in different cities. In Kyiv, particularly, it was confirmed that at least 33 people were killed as a result of Monday's attack in Kyiv alone. In other cities as well, there are casualties. So and the mood is really, sad, especially as a result of the attack on the children's hospital, because for Ukrainian nation, it's a very important place. A lot of people and who were children back in the days had. A lot of people had treatment there, and their lives were saved. So it definitely really sad emotions. But Ukrainians, unite in helping each other, in helping this hospital to get back to operating. And what are the expectations from NATO summit? Well, as we already discussed, Ukrainians just hope to get more air defense to protect cities, to protect civilians, to protect hospitals, and to get basically more opportunities for attacking Russian territory, to get rid of the restrictions. This is probably the main hopes, but again, we will see how the summit will give us.
All right. Thank you very much, Anna Chernikova, VOA correspondent, and our thoughts and prayers are with the families of all those victims. Thank you for your time on The World Today, and please stay safe.
Thank you.